All right, let's talk about college football next year. So, um, yeah. So now that Monday happened, as an Oklahoma fan, I'm low key scared, but at the same time, I'm glad we're going to the SEC because that needs to happen in my eyes. We need to get there as soon as possible. Shout out to Oni Kuno because he said this, and I pretty much agree with him. Thank God Oklahoma's going to the SEC. I am scared of the big boys like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. There's a saying: in order to be the best, you gotta beat them. You gotta beat them if you want to be the best. You know who really kicking themselves? Ohio State fans. They should have been here, but Ryan Day is a bad head coach. Marvin Harrison getting injured screwed them because no disrespect to Emeka Egbuka. He's a good wide receiver. He's not a number one. He's not a number one. He's more of a number three. He stepped up when he became the number two. Marvin Harrison has proven he's the number one. Marvin Harrison's proven he's a number one receiver. He's proven that. Same with Emeka Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka is not a number one receiver. Missing Marvin Harrison hurt because Georgia started double teaming Marvin Harrison after those 2 touchdowns Marvin Harrison got. And that made Stroud spread the ball out. And it was working. It was working. It was working. And then Marvin Harrison gets injured, and that really screwed Ohio State over. Ohio State would have beat TCU. Look, I hate Ohio State. Y'all know this. I can't stand Ohio State. They are my most hated Big Ten team. It's close between them and Michigan. But I said if Marvin Harrison wasn't hurt, Ohio State would have been here and they would have won the national title. See, everyone's like, oh, TCU won a playoff game before Oklahoma did. That is true. At the end of the day, am I sweating over that? No, I'm not. You can go to hell for that. And hey, Alex. Hey, Philly Special. Yeah, you're right about that. um, Big 12 is dying. Oklahoma and Texas bailing. Good for them. Texas is in the same boat as Oklahoma. Texas gave Alabama a game. But 2020 Texas reminds me of that 2019 Texas team. Texas got so much hype after competing with Alabama at home, and then they fell apart. 2019 Texas competed with LSU. We all know what LSU did that year. By the way, I'm tired of these 2022 Georgia comparisons to 2019 LSU. I'm tired of it. 2019 LSU is better team. It would waste them. It wouldn't even be close. Current LSU put 30 on them. There's no doubt in my mind 2019 LSU would put at least 50 on them. Because if you have to guard, because Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on the same team, that's just not fair. But anyways, I can make the excuses of the guys suspended. It wouldn't matter because LSU, there's nobody beating them. You could say Ohio State all you want. At the end of the day, Ohio State did have it. You see, yeah, got absolutely cheated against Clemson. That was a fumble. But it's not the ref's fault that Justin Fields threw an interception in the end zone to a 3-star walk-on. Yeah, no, but anyways, to anyone who says I denied that the SEC is the best conference, no. I've been establishing it's the best conference. I'm actually glad Oklahoma is leaving the Big 12. I'm glad. Reaching, because Oklahoma's full potential could be national championship team. They have too much talent. They could win the national title, but it's not going to happen in the Big 12 because they're not going to play the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Tennessees of the world, the South Carolinas. They're not going to play those teams in the Big 12. They're going to be playing those teams in the SEC. Yes, I called South Carolina a world beater in the SEC because South Carolina is actually good. Literally, when they beat Clemson, they proved me wrong. They didn't prove me wrong after beating Tennessee. I actually could have seen South Carolina winning because it's at home, and Tennessee has the worst defense I've ever seen. People are like, what did they do? I'm like, Brandon Streeter is a horrible play caller. We've been established that. Brandon Streeter gave Will Shipley the ball 2 times in the second half against South Carolina. I don't know what Will Shipley did to get that. The second best conference, if you could even call it that, it's the Big Ten. It's the Big Ten. And guess what? Lincoln Riley's got to go there. He's going to die in the Big Ten. On to the Pac-12. Memphis is going to be fun to watch next year. You got Caleb Williams, Mike Penix, Bo Nix, Cam Rising, DJ Uiagalelei. I feel like he could do decent at Oregon State because he doesn't have bad play callers there. I mean, he was a freshman. He lit up Notre Dame. My issue here. Yeah, Oklahoma. Any of those Oklahoma teams that made the would have beat TCU. Even the 2019 team. And it was overrated. I'm going to admit that Oklahoma team was overrated. That was the most overrated Oklahoma team I've ever seen. Oklahoma kept getting Alabama, Clemson, LSU that one year, and Georgia in the playoff. I would have killed to have played Michigan State, Washington, Clemson, an overrated Notre Dame, an overrated Michigan. I would have killed to have any of those as my playoff opponent. But no, we had to get Alabama, Clemson, Georgia. We should have won, but we all know why. We all know who is our coach. Because I would have rather gone through a rebuilding year with Brent Venables than another Lincoln Riley season. Conference championship and get absolutely humiliated by the SEC. I would have rather gone through what we gone through this year than what we've gone through with Lincoln Riley. Because we showed more promise than people think. We gave Florida State a game. And Florida State is, they're a little bit too high. They're ranked as a top 4 team in the preseason, even though I don't think they're better than Alabama. I do think Florida State's going to win the ACC with Jordan Travis, who I'm picking to go to New York for the Heisman. I think it's going to be Mike Penix, Caleb Williams, Jordan Travis, Marvin Harrison. It's going to be between those 4 for the Heisman Trophy. The biggest surprise was definitely Duke and Kansas. I think Duke and Kansas are risers. Yes, I think Kansas is going to contend for the Big 12 title. I think it's going to be Texas who wins it. I think Texas loses to Kansas State. Kansas State loses to Oklahoma. Oklahoma loses to Texas. TCU loses to all 3 of them. TCU's got to go to Norman. I mean, they do host Texas, and they do own Texas, but I do think Texas will get them next year. And they're definitely going to lose to Kansas State, even though Kansas State is losing to Spawn. That is a huge... That's another reason why I don't think Kansas State's going to win that conference. They don't have the athletes or receivers that Texas and Oklahoma do. That's why I'm picking Oklahoma or Texas. Actually, I got Texas and Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is going to lose to Texas. I mean, yes, I'm picking Texas to win the Big 12, but Texas won't go to the playoff. I think Washington's going to. 2024. 2024. They'll be out of here after next year. They'll be out. Tommy Rees is it. Avid Tommy Rees critic. I'm probably the biggest Tommy Rees critic out of all those guys who like Notre Dame. I've said Tommy Rees needs to go. Yay, Sam Hartman. I mean, I like Sam Hartman. Don't get me wrong. He's a good quarterback, but he's not going to fix Tommy Rees's terrible play call. He's not. See, if this was a Notre Dame with Chip Long with Tommy Rees on and Sam Hartman, I was a critic of Chip Long, but he's better than Tommy. Tommy makes me miss Chip Long. I didn't like Chip Long that much. I think Alabama, Georgia is my national title next year. I think we're going to get a rematch of 2017 and 2021. Alabama would have won if Jameson Williams was healthy and John Mechie. If you disagree with me, look at the SEC championship game. Alabama torched them with both of them. Georgia could not guard Jameson Williams or John Mechie. Keely Ringo especially could not guard Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams destroyed him. Yeah, he is. Brian Kelly's basically Lincoln Riley. But the difference is, Brian Kelly's not scared. He went to the SEC. He won the SEC West. The division that has Alabama, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. And Arkansas. You have 4 decent to good teams. So even great with Alabama in there. You have those teams in there, and you win the SEC West over them in your first season. I think LSU will be good next year, but I think they're going to lose 2 games. Alabama is one of them, and another one is going to be Florida State. Brian Kelly has struggled against Florida State a lot. Other than when Florida State came to South Bend, Brian Kelly has beaten the Seminoles 3 times. One of them was in overtime. And they only won that game because Ryan Fitzgerald and, well, that was when Kenny was the offensive coordinator. If Alex Atkins was Florida State's offensive coordinator last year, they would have beat Notre Dame. Because look at what Alex Atkins did this year with Jordan Travis. This is the same Florida State team, except transfers. I mean, they're not bad. Maryland, I wouldn't consider a doormat because Maryland's actually built up a good team. They have a good team. I like what Mike Locksley is doing over there. I like what he's doing. I like Mike Locksley. I thought he was going to be a good coach. Then that rough 2019 season, which was his first year, and I was like, well, yeah. And then you got 2020, showed some promise. 2021, make a bowl game. This year, make a bowl game, win it. Next year, I think Maryland is a dark horse. Although I do think it's going to be Michigan winning the conference again. Unless Jim Harbaugh. If Jim Harbaugh leaves Penn State. I'm Penn State with Ohio State. That's it. I think Michigan's going 12-0. The schedule is so bad. Wait till next year because they're going to lose to Texas. I'm already making a bold prediction. Michigan will lose to Texas in a few years. I'm already making it. If Texas could compete with Alabama, they could definitely beat Michigan. Michigan's the Dallas Cowboys of college football. That's what they are, okay? I would have killed to play Michigan in the playoffs with any of those Oklahoma teams. I would have killed to play this Michigan team. I would have. People are like, Michigan would beat those OU teams. No, they wouldn't. especially the 2018 OU team that had Kyler Murray and company. Like, they were really good that year. They were. Kyler Murray won the Heisman Trophy. You have CeeDee Lamb, who's really young. You have Hollywood Brown. If he can catch a cold, he can be pretty good. That's the thing, like Brown. He can't catch a cold. He could catch a cold. That's why I think. Nah. At least Ohio State can actually win the big game. Ohio State can win the big game. Michigan can't. That's why Michigan's the Cowboys. Because I've seen Ohio State beat the SEC. Cough, they beat Alabama in 2014 when nobody thought they'd beat Alabama. What else? 2022 this year, they would have beat Georgia if Marvin Harrison didn't get hurt. Because Ohio State would have boat raced TCU. Everyone knows that. Michigan, you have everything going for you, and you're playing a mid team in TCU. That 12-win record does nothing for TCU. They should have been 7-5. Alabama, watching Big 12 football against the SEC, literally, they just don't have it. Big 12 just don't have it. Nah, you ain't going 7-5. You ain't. You ain't. I promise. You ain't going 7-5. You're going like 10-2, 11-1. If Jim Harbaugh leaves and Michigan is in trouble, probation, Michigan will end up. I think they'll fall off. I think Penn State will win the Big Ten, or Ohio State, because Ohio State, they're gonna. I mean, Kyle McCord. Everyone's trying to say Marvin Harrison to USC. That first of all, that is a pipe dream. That is not going to happen. Marvin Harrison is not going to go to USC. He's not going to. Why? His high school quarterback, Kyle McCord, plays for Ohio State. Ohio State has Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison. So, like, I don't see why Marvin Harrison would leave Ohio State for USC. Marvin Harrison would not win at USC. No one will win it. USC will not win with Lincoln Riley. USC fans, I'm telling you right now, Lincoln Riley's not the guy. He's not the guy to win you a championship. Like, you're not ready for the SEC. You aren't. Lincoln Riley, how Lincoln Riley coaches, he's not ready. He's not ready for that gauntlet. He's not ready for it. Everyone's saying the SEC is so top heavy. It is top heavy. But you have other guys getting it. But Florida was the worst team to make a bowl game. They were. I saw from Florida was they weren't good. No. You won't lose to Michigan. You guys owned them before Jim came in. Also, Jim has barely beaten you guys. You guys own Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh barely has a winning record. The only team you guys can't beat is Ohio State. You've only beaten them once. And that was on a fluke play. That was a fluke. As much as I hate to admit it, it was a fluke. But you should have been in the playoff. You should have been in the playoff. But you would have lost to Clemson, but you would have put points. You would have. Because you're not beating that Clemson team with Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, Wayne Gallman, Hunter Renfrow, their defense with Christian Wilkins. Who else did they have? Cleveland Farrell. Um, who else did they have on that defense? But their quarterback was Deshaun Watson. Controversy aside, he's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. He's just controversial. Alrighty then. Now, I know they had Dexter Lawrence. I said Dexter Lawrence. Bama will be Bama next year. I think they'll win the SEC. Will they win the national title though? Maybe, because they do have Jermaine Burton coming back. I don't know if Cameron Latu is coming. back. Will Reichard, the kicker's coming back. Will Reichard is a good kicker. Like, he's a good kicker. Will Reichard, he's a great kicker. Now, Noah Ruggles of Ohio State's pretty good. Now, Ohio State is losing JSN. TreVeyon Henderson's gonna be back. Mion is coming back. Mion Williams, I'd argue, is better than TreVeyon Henderson, even when they both played. I thought Mion Williams was better. I do think, however, Marvin Harrison is not only going to win the Biletnikoff Award, he's going to be up for the Heisman. You can say Jalen Hyatt deserved the Biletnikoff. You can say that all you want. Here's the thing. He's caught one pass in press coverage. He's not going to last in the NFL. Every time he makes a big play, it's because the DBs back off on him. Whenever he's pressed, he can't get off of it. He's only made one catch on it. Marvin Harrison can get off a press. Jalen Hyatt can't. That's why I say Marvin Harrison should have won the award. He was better than Hyatt. He's a better overall receiver than Jalen Hyatt is. You can say Marvin Harrison played against the best competition. Not Marvin Harrison. Jalen Hyatt played against the best competition. Jalen Hyatt runs go routes every single play. He runs straight. He just runs by people. Marvin Harrison is the complete package. He runs slants, he runs in routes, he runs out routes, he runs a post, he runs a fade, he runs a streak, he runs a go route. It doesn't matter. He runs more than one route. What up, Jared? Yeah, it would have been if Ohio State was there too, because Ohio State would have beat TCU. Michigan was just overrated. That's the thing with Michigan. They were just overrated. If Michigan actually decided to if Michigan won that game, they lost by 40. And I'm already saying it right now to all you Michigan apologists that come on my channel daily. I don't want to hear your excuses. You would have lost to Ohio State if you played them again. You would have. And you know it. You know you would have lost to them. Ohio State would have beat them if they played again. Ohio State would have won 47-22 over Michigan. Marvin Harrison is way too. Yeah, Ohio State lost by 1 to them. And they would have won if Marvin Harrison wasn't hurt. Ohio State would have beat Michigan if they played each other again. You can't tell me. And don't you say 2022 Georgia would be 2019 LSU. Don't even. LSU, negative difficulty. Yeah, a lot of Ohio State's on there. For me, it's Georgia, when we lost to them in 2017. That's number one. Number two, getting blown out by Ohio State. But again, we got payback on them the next year. So, yeah. Hell, even TCU Michigan was better than this joke. Even TCU and Michigan was better than this joke. You know, TCU gave up more points in the college football playoff than the 2011 Alabama Crimson Tide did. That's how mid TCU was. They were lucky to make the playoff. They should not have made the playoff. They were not the best teams. They showed you have to go with the best teams. You can't go with the most deserving. The most deserving. If you're gonna do that, what happened on Monday is what's gonna happen. What happened on Monday is what's gonna happen. See, I'm an Oklahoma fan. Trust me, we should not have been in the playoff in 2019. I think Georgia was a better team, and they were more deserving, but the South Carolina loss hurt them. That is why they missed South Carolina. And I'll say this, if Hendon Hooker was healthy, Tennessee would have been in. Because I have no doubt Tennessee would beat one of the top three. Not Georgia. They would have beat somebody if Hendon Hooker was healthy. They would have. But Hendon Hooker was hurt, so they didn't get in. I did not agree. I would not have put Tennessee in if Hendon Hooker was playing. Hooker wasn't playing. This, I will continue to say it. I said it at the conference championship weekend. Alabama should win. After the TCU game, I said Alabama should win. TCU is done. They should not make it. Look at what Alabama, if you say no, look at what Alabama did to Kansas State. Look at what Alabama did to them. Deuce Vaughn did nothing that game. He had an 80-yard touchdown run. That's it. What did he do? Absolutely nothing. Alabama would have beat TCU by 50. This is why I blame Bill O'Brien for why Georgia went back-to-back. Alabama had a competent offensive coordinator. They would have easily won the national title this year. Bryce Young is way too good. He's going to be the second overall pick because the Texans ruined their tank. Because Lovie Smith was like, fuck this, we don't want the number one pick. But still get Bryce Young at number 2. Number 1 is going to be Will. I say last year they got it right. 2021, they got it right. It definitely should have been Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Cincinnati. That was the rightful playoff. I think Cincinnati was one of the 4 best teams. I don't think Ohio State was. Because when I watch Ohio State, they do not look like a top 4 team. They beat an overrated Michigan State team, and then they got killed by Michigan, who had Cade McNamara. And then this year they got killed by Donovan Edwards. My thing is, I think people overrate how bad I think people inflate. Oh no, the defense was not that bad, Alex. Trust me. The reason it was that bad was because Bill O'Brien called horrible games, and the defense kept getting on the field because the offense kept stalling. So the defense was on the field a lot, so they couldn't stop anything. If Bill O'Brien was a competent offensive, if Alabama had as their offensive coordinator, they would not to LSU or Tennessee. They wouldn't have. With Bryce Young, they wouldn't have lost. But because Bill O'Brien is a hack, they lost those games. Bill O'Brien called a bad game early on. Second half is where he called a good game. It's just the missed field goal killed them. And also a little bit of ref help. I'm not going to get into why Tennessee got lucky in that game with ref help. So, in case you were wondering, on a play Alabama took a delay of game, Tennessee had 12 guys on the field. And this was pretty obvious, too. I counted watching that game. I was like, there's 12 men on the field. Why are you not throwing a flag? And then they threw a flag on Alabama for delay of game because they didn't know what to do. And then you have literally when Alabama was driving, Tennessee committed targeting. It got reviewed. They didn't go targeting. Not really, because I know what's going to happen. It's going to be Kansas City and San Francisco, and Kansas City's going to call. I know the NFL. They're going to rig it. They're going to rig these playoffs for the Bills, 49ers, Chiefs, or the Bengals. Why for the Bengals? They love Joe Burrow. People are like, but they don't like the Bengals. They love Joe Burrow. Yeah, that's why I said last year Ohio State was not a top 4 team. People are like, well, they smacked Michigan State. Michigan State was overrated as hell that year. I knew Michigan was going to beat Ohio State last year, and it happened. This like Ohio State is not losing. Ohio State's the best team in the country. Tennessee humiliated by Georgia. Ohio State struggles with West. I'm like, maybe Ohio State's not a top 4 team. And then Ohio State got killed by Michigan. I'm like, wow. But I'm like, but I still think they were top 4 after that game. Because I was not impressed with USC once. I was not impressed with USC once. I said Ohio State will fall. Because I think Utah's going to beat them. Guess what? Utah beat them. I knew what was going to happen. Where did Trayshawn Ward just commit? Where did Trey? Let me guess. He committed to UW because, Big Penix Energy plays there, and he went to the same high school as Big Penix Energy. Anyways, I'm gonna head out. Peace.